y'all. Welcome back to another episode of Go Bout Your Business. Today, we're going to be talking about something that I feel like is very important to entrepreneurs in any startup industry, and that's budgeting. Oftentimes, people relate to budgeting to meaning lack of funds. Guys, budgeting doesn't mean broke. Budgeting means scaling, understanding where your business is at financially and how to grow it from there. So, y'all, we got to be talking about certain strategies. And I just want to bring up certain strategies that I feel like a lot of people can use to scale their business and can relate to even when scaling personal finances. Because, y'all, sometimes your personal finances need to be there first before you take that financial risk and go start that business. Yeah. Feel me? Okay. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is the 50-30-20 rule. Guys, this rule is something that I've recently learned, and I am so pressed to share with y'all because it changed my perspective about money and finances, especially when allocating it towards a business. Think of 50 as half of your business. So 50% of your business needs to be allocated to your needs. So that is going to be anything that your business needs in terms of material-wise, funding-wise, and growing. A lot of times, let's say if you run a hair business, 50% of that needs to probably be going to that hair. Does it make sense? Half of your budget needs to be going to your needs. So let's look at that 30%. 30% of your budget needs to be going to your funds. Let me run that back. 30% of your budget needs to be going to your wants. Creating that 30% budget for your wants gives your business personality. A lot of times, we can have businesses that are similar to a million other businesses out in this country. That is what capitalism is for. Sometimes you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just take the wheel and make it your own. And that's where that 30% comes into play. A lot of the wants of your business needs to be allocated in a fund. So that gives your business the marketing personality, the business style, your own personal branding. And everybody knows those things aren't cheap. When you start to get your own persona in your business, personas cost. It's like getting an outfit or having a personality and you have your outfits to match it. Them outfits are not cheap. And that is the outfit of your business. A lot of times the wants, whether it's better business partners, better people to now do. Things cost when you get higher and higher in your business. And those are things that you as the owner could personally want for yourself. There's nothing wrong with wants, especially when growing a business. But you need to make sure they're in your budget. And the last 20%. Guys, this last 20%, although it's small, it's very important because this can make or break your business. 20% of that funds, that budget, needs to be allocated into savings or debts. Sometimes it's saving for the debt. And when you try to figure out, or when you figure out a system to now manage how to save, that is going to propel your business because you can now rinse and repeat the cycle of the 50-30-20 rule. Savings helps your business now be protected for unexpected expenses. It can be saving for the debt that you didn't know that you had to pay in the immediate. It could be to help your checks and balances for your accounting for the month. So never forget to put that 20% aside for any savings or debts. We cool on that? All right, we cool. The second thing I want y'all to look at is track first, adjust later. When I say track first, adjust later, the main thing you need to be doing is tracking every single expense that your business is doing, whether it's coming out, going out, or coming in. And everybody knows that's just classic bookkeeping. Bookkeeping runs every business. It runs every finance. It runs households. Bookkeeping is important. If you say you're serious about finances, scaling, you should have a bookkeeping system. Now, once you track everything at the end of the month, you do your checks and balances. What went out, what came in, and how can you budget those things? There are accountants out there that explain simple concepts of check and balances. I have my system of check and balances, and I can definitely share it with y'all. If we're talking about apps, I use Rocket Money. Rocket Money has a great check and balances system where they can track what you do on a monthly basis, tell you how much you saved, how much you spend, how much you can't spend no more. They will definitely break it down for you based on every single transaction they have found and you have shared with them. Now, when you're talking about, okay, classic bookkeeping, I use Excel for that digital bookkeeping. Whether I can just now scan everything back into Rocket Money for them to give me the full overview, but just a clean spreadsheet of what goes out and what comes in. And the third thing, y'all, let's take it old school. Let's go classic. Nothing but a good old pen and paper. Even accountants use this system sometimes. A good old pen and paper. Y'all, you should definitely have a finance book for your own personal finances and for your business finances. That is finance 101. Just keep a pen and paper of the simple things that you've spent. I have a personal journal and I can share it with you guys. If you guys would like to know where to get that personal journal, y'all, I'm going to send it in my blog, on my LinkedIn blog, and you guys can stay tuned for that, okay? And the main thing that I really wanted to get into, y'all, today, as we go through this list, I got my little checks and balances list, all right? Just so I don't forget anything and we can really talk about it. Zero-based versus envelope-based budgeting. And a lot of times people mean like, what does zero-based budgeting mean? Like, what are y'all talking about? What are you talking about? Zero-based budgeting means that your budget for the month and what you are expending for the month needs to equal to zero. Again, let me say it. What your budget is for the month and what you're spending for the month needs to be balanced. So at the end of the month, it needs to equal zero. So what does that mean? Spend all your money? No. It means every dollar needs to be allocated. Every dollar of that budget needs a home. Whether it's spending for, some marketing tools that you need to, whether it's spending for materials that you need to, whether it's spending for future plans that you need to do. For that month, every dollar needs a home. So that way you have a clear cut, concise vision of what all that money is going towards. And you know exactly what you can spend. Y'all, and now we're going to talk about envelope based. I think a lot of people do this. This is kind of like that classic pen and paper. Put it in an envelope. Simple as that. Put it in an envelope. Take an envelope, put $200 and say, for my business fund, or for the lens, for the ice cream scoop, for the hair care product, for the combs. Whatever your business is, hairdresser, nail tech, I'm saying entrepreneur, all of it's entrepreneurship, but I'm saying whether it's for what, guys, nothing coming to mind right now, but I already gave some examples. Whatever your business is, budget it for that. And I would say that's very important because at least you have a visual representation of what you're spending the money on. So it can help you see exactly what the money is going towards. And that helps with organization, that helps with peace of mind, that helps with the calm, and you know what your budget is for the month. You don't go over it. So now when you're figuring out, why is my money spent? Where did the money go? How did it come in? And I don't have profit for the month. That exit out that question. You know exactly where the money went that month and how to manage it. All right? So if you guys want a detail, I am going to be writing you guys a detailed explanation of zero-based versus envelope-based budgeting. That will also be on my LinkedIn blog, just to give you guys actual written and visual representation of what I'm talking about. Y'all, we're going to connect. We're going to get in. I'm going to give y'all these gems and we're going to learn. The second topic I want to talk to you guys about is emergency funds 101. A lot of times, businesses don't have an emergency fund. Like I told you guys, 20% of your budget should be allocated to emergency funds. Why is emergency funds important? Like you said, sometimes you might have unexpected expenses. Sometimes you might have an opportunity that you didn't foresee before, and you have to invest in it. And the best thing is, don't get ready. Stay ready. If you have a trip or opportunity that you just got and you got to leave in 2 days and you don't have the funds because all the funds was allocated in that envelope, what can you tap into? Your emergency budget fund. And that makes all of the difference about what opportunities that your business is going to get, because it shows how prepared you are as an entrepreneur. And this shows the checks and balances of your books to then file taxes at the end of the year. Get into it. Y'all, these gems are very important. I always say this. The main thing that businesses need is just a startup. I always say, if you have an emergency fund, try to get your emergency fund at least minimum for any brand new entrepreneur, $1,000. $1,000 is something very simple that people can do. It's a very doable fund, and start it off small. I don't know how much your business makes per month. I don't know how much your business spends per month. But if you have at least $1,000 in savings, it can create safety nets for any unexpected expenses, any issues, any opportunities that you have, and it propels your business to go further. So always keep in mind emergency funds. Now we're going to get into tracking debit and credit. I can say this. One thing about businesses that I had to learn the hard way for myself, especially starting a podcast, was I used to make everything debit. I used to just be like, okay, I'm just going to sell plates and get myself out there, and I'm going to create this budget for the podcast that I can pour right back into it, and it's going to help me. And I used a lot of debit. And then I sat down and I was like, that's dumb, because I'm not building any business repertoire. So guys, it is important to actually have some liquid cash that doesn't hang over your head when you're making certain business expenses. But guys, the most important thing to scale your business, first to increase your credit and your business credit, is by using credits. And let me actually break down what is bad credits and what is good credits. And it's going to be right here. Bad credits are things that depreciate. Y'all hear that? Depreciate. So like high interest consumer debts. Think of credit cards, payday loans, little things like get now, pay later. That's high interest consumer debts. Why? It's because a lot of times people just buy with those. There's no real purpose to what they're buying, and there's no real strategy of why they're buying those things. So a lot of times you get high interest debt. Sometimes you might need to take those. If you know the chess moves or the checker moves that you're using in your business and you can allocate it properly on your books, go for it. But it is bad debt, but you might know how to catch that bad debt. Well, I always say this. Good debt is things that appreciate in value. Think of it. Things that appreciate in value. Student loans can appreciate in value. It can help you. Why? Because it shows that you are now an adult and paying back off things. So that boosts your credit. It can appreciate in value. But we're not here to talk about student loans, because yeah, we got that degree for that business, but what we really need to focus on is actually things like a house. actually things like a business office. Those things create an appreciation in value because it actually brings legs to your business. These are assets that you can now use and use business credit to help you. And a lot of times people are like, okay, I know, but how? Like I said, if you guys want full, elaborate details of how you can get these things, read the LinkedIn blog. I know a lot of times people use information off of what people tell them verbally, but it sticks a lot more when people read. Reading allows you to go reread it, do your own research, and then get back to your own conclusions based off of the information somebody even allowed you or just brought to your attention to zero in on. And a lot of times, good versus bad debt is something that people need to know and also study as entrepreneurs. All right? You feel me? You did? You got me? All right. So the fourth thing, unlocking that credit score, y'all. How are we going to unlock the credit score? Because sometimes you already know. Everybody knows what it is with credit. It could take you forever to get it up, but just seconds to bring it down. And as an entrepreneur, sometimes you got to take that risk. So that house that you bought with that good credit, sometimes you got to leverage it to get to the next level. And you're like, all right, can I afford to lose this house? Can I afford to have this back pay? Can I? But that's the risk. That's when you know you're truly alive in business. Knowing that your business has a heartbeat when you actually have assets to leverage. Your business has things that they can put up to then get more gains. And that's the rule of Monopoly. Guys, if you guys ever played Monopoly growing up, you already know you got to put something out to get something in. And that is when you know we're playing the game of business and capitalism, y'all, because we ain't escaping the IRS. The one thing is what you need to understand about the 5 things or credit score is 5 key factors. Payment history. I'm going to say it again. Payment history is one of the longest things they use to hold over your head for credit score. Did this person have a good payment history in paying their rent? Did this person have a good payment history in paying that business loan back after we gave them $500,000? Did this person have a good payment history in going into things? That is a very important thing when looking at your credit. Now you got to look at amount owed. How much did you borrow? And are you just one borrowing ass? I ain't gonna finish the rest. Are you just one borrowing ass? Because sometimes borrowing is good, but to borrow too much means where's your capital? And how much of your capital are you putting in? That's when a lot of times when you don't want to borrow from banks or borrow from this, you need to look at private investors. Because yes, it is borrowing, but it's privatized borrowing. And that you can have your own agreements and set up with those privatized lenders. But I always say this, amount owed is very important. Your length of your credit history. A lot of times, length could be a good thing, length could be a bad thing. You know, when you're 18 and you really don't have a credit history, at least your credit's not low. They have nothing to judge you off of. And that is the best thing because it gives you that chance to have low interest rates. It has good borrowing because you don't have no history. But if you're an entrepreneur, they want to see that you have a history of credit. Why? Because it trusts them more to lend you out grants, loans, different allocations, and they do look at your credit history for those things. So you need to at least have a lengthy credit history. If it's buying one business or getting one business credit card and using that for as long as you can until you grow capital in every area and other areas, do that. Because that is one thing that's going to save your business over time. If they see this LLC has been using this business credit card for 5 years and have good history, They're more likely to give you that $50,000 loan to get your equipment. They're more likely to get you that $30,000 loan to open that storefront. And it's all up to you. And I would definitely say this: new credit, that is very important. Sometimes we don't want to get caught in a borrowing game and just play the tit for tat. But y'all, the one thing I've actually learned is that credit likes new credit, because at least it shows that you're actually utilizing credit. But when you play that game of new credit, you have to also keep your credit utilization low. So don't just get a whole bunch of new credit without paying attention to your overall utilization of said credit. Does that make sense? Am I making sense? Y'all, we're going to talk about it in the blog, just so you can read it and it make more sense. And then you can do your own research on it for it to make even more sense. So that way we can come back and discuss it and we're going about our biz naive, right? All right. And the third thing, the part 3 of this is your business career insight. Guys, after you take these rules of thumbs and your budgeting doesn't mean broke, and how you're looking at your credit, and how you're doing the 50-30-20 rule, and how you're actually writing it out on Excel sheets or Rocket Money, the main thing is your business/career insight. Where do you want your business to grow? How do you want your business to grow? In the time frame of which you want your business to grow. Once you have that idea, your 5-year projectile plan, your 10-year projectile plan, your 20-year projectile plan, and sometimes it doesn't have to be that far in the future. It can be your 1-year projectile plan, your 2-year projectile plan, because your business can change over time. As you grow, you can find different loves for different things. You can get different tones for different things. You can grow in different spaces, and your business grows right with you. But the main thing is have a vision that's bigger than today, because that's how you start to properly budget for said business, because it gives you strategies on how to grow it, strategies on what you need, and strategies on who you need mentorship by. Because a lot of times when it comes to business, capital, growing, it's not about what you know. It's about who you know. And knowing people always start from networking, having a clean business tone, and simply going about your business. Because if it ain't getting you paid, it shouldn't be having your attention. Y'all, if y'all have any questions, like I said, we can chat on LinkedIn in that blog. And always feel free to leave a comment. We are going about our business. Until next time.